the FECA specifically prohibits conversion of campaign funds to personal use. It defined as any expenditure, and this is the way that they determine if it is a campaign expenditure or a personal expenditure. It has to be used to fulfill any commitment, obligation, or expense that would exist irrespective of the candidate's election campaign. Now, what does that mean? It means if a person would have had that expense, whether or not he was running for office, then it is a personal expense. If he has the expense only because he is or she is a candidate, then you can legally write it off your campaign. That kind of makes sense, don't it? The Federal Election Commission regulations emphasize that the standard for determining if something is for the purpose of influence an election is an objective one. It is the nature of the expense, not the subjective intent of the candidate in making the expense, that determines if something is legitimate campaign expense or an illegal personal use. That's how they decide this, right? Had Trump made these payments with campaign funds, and it seems a near certainty that he would have been facing criminal charges, and get this, for knowing and willful diversion of campaign funds to pay personal obligations. What we just talked about, what I just got done stating. It wouldn't have mattered how he paid this check. He would still have been indicted by Alvin Bragg and Joe Biden's collusion, whatever's going on here. Clearly there's something going on, and we can all see right through it. As my screen here says, zealous prosecutors could get a candidate coming or going. It doesn't matter. Falsification of records. It is falsification of records if campaign funds are not used, and illegal personal use if campaign funds are used. Right? Do you get that? They can get him coming and going on this. And that is not the way, ladies and gentlemen, that it is supposed to work in the United States. All right, Sapphire's comment. I think that Trump has picked, he may have picked her, that LC, how do you say your name? Stay Frank for VP, because yesterday Trump said we were going after New York. You know, it's going to be interesting to see who he picks as his vice presidential candidate. To be straight up with you, for a long time, and I don't know what I base this on, but I'm just going to go ahead and share it with everybody here. I personally think the president was going to pick someone like, what's that guy's name? He ran for president. He's a black guy. He's a doctor, Ben Carson. Dr. Ben Carson. I thought that would be a good choice for Donald Trump, because I hate to play identity politics, but it does make a difference. And I think that somebody like Dr. Carson is very calm. He's extremely intelligent. He's charismatic. And I think he might be a good counter, so to speak, for President Trump. But I don't know. We'll have to see. I'd say there's 5 or 6 people in my mind that would probably be on President Trump's short list. And Sapphire, they're showing how much they hate America. I totally agree with you on that, my friend. Unfortunately, I agree. These people hate America. I don't really see any other way to look at it. How many times have we turned on television and we see these individuals that are basically saying America is so evil and so bad that the only thing that we can do is simply eliminate America and start over, basically just burn it down and start all over. Just a bunch of nonsense, bunch of stupidity. These people here just don't understand how the real world works. But I totally agree with you on that, my friend. They definitely hate. Yeah, she's the #1 fundraiser for Joe Biden. Yes, I'm sure she is. Kenneth, thanks for joining the conversation. Yeah, Ben Carson would make a great Surgeon General. I agree with you on that. And I'll tell you who I'd like to see as probably Attorney General. Who's that Texas Senator? Cruz, Ted Cruz. He'd make a great Attorney General. At least in my mind, I was thinking he might make a great one. But great points, gentlemen. I like that. So, all right. So we're going to get into the nuts and bolts here, exactly what I want to talk about today. And then I have some videos that I want us to take a look at. All right. They have some of the, according to the judge, they have recently picked out a actual jury. I believe it's 12 jurists and 1 alternate. I think they need 6 more alternates or something to that effect. But I want to make a point that is kind of sad to have to make. I was talking about this earlier in one of the videos I made, but if you take a look at your screen, these 7 jurors that were originally picked. Now, I believe 2 of them have quit, or I should say, one of them asked to be let off because her family found out she's on the panel. And then I think another one was dismissed for cause because the individual allegedly was doing something with campaign signs or some kind of nonsense like that for conservative candidates. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but the point I want to emphasize to everybody right here, and the point that we have to discuss, is if you look at this jury, you look at everybody that's on this jury, it is so clear that this jury is not a good jury for former President Donald Trump. It's really just that simple. Unfortunately, I don't really know any other way that we can look at it other than what I just said, because these individuals are clearly liberal individuals. You can tell a lot by the way, they had that questionnaire, right? And some of the questions on that questionnaire asked, "Hey, where do you work? Where did you, or what kind of news programs do you watch?" This type of stuff, right? So let me pull up my little notes right here. So you take like juror number 1. It's a male from West Harlem, originally from Ireland. Now, here's the key into these people's backgrounds. And some of these people, frankly, worry me because I don't believe them. I don't believe their answers. For example, gets their news from the New York Times, Daily Mail. Now, we know the New York Times is a liberal newspaper. If you're getting your primary news source from the New York Times, it does not bode well for Donald Trump. This particular individual also said, "Oh, I get my news from the Daily Mail." Now we're conservative, Fox News conservative, and MSNBC. Are you kidding me? Now, don't get me wrong. I realize some people might actually watch these type of news programs to get a diverse assessment of the news or whatever's going on. But folks, I have to be honest with you. When I read something like that, my mind is thinking, I don't know if I believe juror number 1. Now, juror number 2, this was the oncologist that was released. Again, I looked up today and I was just asking Chat GPT. I was just asking some general questions, and I was asking them, is the New York Times rather conservative or liberal? Same thing for the Daily Mail. And most interesting, at least in my mind, I was asking questions like this: statistically speaking, are attorneys considered conservative or liberal? And the computer went through an analysis, or whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is, all of these jurors, when you look at it, whether they're an attorneys, which most attorneys, generally speaking, are liberal. And let's see what they got here. They got attorneys. They have the juror number 4 is a man who's some kind of consultant for about 10 years, self-employed. Oh, and teachers. Whenever you get speech therapists, software engineers, and attorneys general, not all of them, but generally speaking, a lot of attorneys have a very liberal persuasion on them. I mean, folks, that's just the way it is. Like it or not, I don't make these assessments lightly, but it's just the way it is. It's just the way they lead. I mean, I really wish they had a bigger pool of people out of New York City. We're all supposed to be entitled to a jury of our peers, but that's just not the way that this has went down. The fact is that, to begin with, 85% of New York City residents identify as voting Democratic in this last election. And statistics are anywhere from 90 to 92% of the people in the city are actually Democratic.